Peggy, thanks for sitting down with me today. We're here in Pine Mountain, Georgia for the 9th annual meeting of the National Association of Plant Breeders. You're the incoming chair of the NAPB. Before we get to that, I wanted to learn a little bit about you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself? Who is Peggy? What do you like to do when you're not doing this plant breeding thing?
Well, I'm professor of horticulture at the University of Georgia and director of the Institute of Plant Breeding, Genetics, and Genomics. Obviously, those two roles consume an awful lot of my time, but when I have a little bit of free time, I like to be outdoors. I enjoy gardening. I enjoy water sports, including scuba diving. It's just hard to find time to do all of those things.
Scuba diving. Wow, that's really neat. Where do you scuba dive?
Mostly in the Florida Keys, but also in the Great Barrier Reef, sometimes in the Caymans and the Bahamas.
Oh. Does that, maybe a little bit of a offbeat question, but does scuba diving aid you in plant breeding or research at all?
I mainly find it relaxing, but I guess it aids in your powers of observation.
How did you first get interested in this whole plant breeding enterprise?
So I'm not by training a plant breeder. I'm really more in plant development and biotechnology. But of course, biotechnology is now intricately linked with plant breeding and is one of the tools that's used certainly by many plant breeders.
You recently helped crack the peanut genome. A lot of your research centers around the peanut. Before we get to the specific research, do you actually enjoy eating peanuts? And if so, what's your favorite peanut-related food?
I absolutely enjoy eating peanuts. I'm not sure that I have a favorite. If you were at the break yesterday, and I hope you tasted the fried peanuts, they have a different flavor than roasted peanuts because the skins are left on, the fried peanuts. In addition, I like boiled peanuts, and that's kind of a Southern tradition. Many people that are unaccustomed to having a boiled peanut are really put off by it because the texture is certainly very different from what you would get in a roasted peanut. It's not crunchy, but I do like boiled peanuts. In addition, I love peanut butter. Sometimes that serves as a quick and nutritious lunch, peanut butter and crackers.
What made you want to focus on the peanuts specifically?
When I joined the faculty at the University of Georgia's Tifton campus, it quickly became clear that that was really the epicenter of peanut research in the U.S. The U.S. produces about 50% of Georgia produces about 50% of the U.S. peanuts. And so this was a great place to begin peanut research in fields that were not yet really heavily investigated in peanuts, such as transformation of peanuts, generating transgenic peanut, and certainly later peanut genomics.
How did your research benefit peanut growers and, at the end of the day, consumers?
Much of the research that we are doing with peanut is related to disease resistance. Growers have to invest a lot in control of certain diseases. Leaf spots are one disease that can be controlled. It's a foliar fungal disease. But it takes a lot of chemical applications over regular intervals during the season. So it's a lot of pesticide use. It's a lot of diesel use for the machinery to apply the pesticides. It takes a lot of monitoring to know when to apply the pesticides. So it's very labor intensive and costly. So if we could enhance the peanut with genetic resistance, then that would reduce much of those costs to the growers.
As I said, you're incoming chair of the NAPB. This is the 9th annual meeting of the NAPB. What for you is the biggest highlight of this year's meeting here in Pine Mountain, Georgia?
So at this meeting, I've really been wearing two hats. One of them is as head of the planning committee for organizing the meeting, and then the other is as incoming president. So it's been I think the entire meeting has really had a lot of highlights. I can't just really focus on one, honestly. We've tried to make opportunity for a lot of networking among graduate students and early career scientists, and we hope that that's been successful. There is the establishment of a new committee within the NAPB, the industry committee, and we're hoping that that will synergize the industry participation in NAPB.
Can you talk a little bit about this new committee, what the reason is, what prompted the formation of it?
And it is related to what I just indicated, to increase the synergy among industry, actually, and then the interaction between the private sector and the public sector scientists or administrators. And so in the case of the industry committee, at this point, we're leaving it up to them to really define their goals. But I think that there are some sectors of the industry that have been very active in NAPB over many years, and others less so. And so it's really to be able to improve the recognition of those that are less represented of the opportunities that NAPB may offer.
It strikes me that there's a lot of change going on right now, technological change, policy changes. I did an interview with Michael Cantor of the Plant Breeding Coordinating Committee. The BBCC is also looking at its strategic objectives to try and meet the future. What for you is the biggest success the NAPB has had since its formation, but also its biggest challenge?
Biggest success, we're really growing right now as an organization, and I think that broadening recognition is certainly a big success. We do value our interaction with the PBCC because we serve different roles. The PBC certainly collects a lot of information that then the NAPB can use to define its direction as far as advocacy. And so we certainly realize that in order to feed a growing population in the face of climate change, that plant breeding plays such an important role. And combining the advocacy with the communication and the education, we really want to get that message out.
Well, and speaking of successes, I understand this year's meeting, over 400 people. This is the highest turnout you've ever had for an NAPB meeting ever, correct?
That's correct. And it really has surpassed our expectations.
What do you attribute that to, the fact that there's more people coming to this than ever?
I'm not really sure. I'm sure that it's multiple factors. One is, we tried to get our message out to a lot of different groups, including industry, including academia, so public and private sector, including those industries associated with the technologies that are related to both public and private sector advancements. So we have continued to try to stress the involvement of graduate students, and so in many cases, a lab is represented by a graduate student that was able to travel to the meeting and benefit from the interactions.
As chair, what's your vision for the NAPB over the next 12 months? What do you hope to do?
We've been very active over the last couple of years in establishing principles and policies for practices that really need to be implemented. There's also been a very dedicated strategic planning committee that's worked over the last 6 to 12 months to develop a strategic plan for the society. And so it's really examining that strategic plan and trying to begin the implementation of that to grow the society, grow our visibility, grow our recognition.
Peggy, I understand the NAPB is hoping to enhance the Borlaug Scholarship program. I've had a blast interviewing the Borlaug Scholars this year. What do you hope to enhance about that program? What would you like to improve on?
So we try to emphasize to early, mid, and late career members of NAPB the importance of giving back. And one way to give back is actually to invest in the Borlaug Scholar program. And that way we were able to bring in undergraduates as well as graduate students to the meeting so that they can actually meet scientists and representatives from the public and private sector and learn more about the profession. Hopefully they will, through their mentors, meet people that they will develop lifelong connections with and can develop into productive members of the profession.
Thank you so much for sitting down with me today.
My pleasure.